absolutely awesome. So I just want to share that today is the final one of the 4 days celebrating International Day of Peace, and then uh, on Tuesday we're going to do the International Day of Non-Conflict. So today is the round off of 4 days. Um, and in this event, over the past 4 days, we have celebrated Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and who else? Mahatma Gandhi. Three men who just took it upon themselves to try and bring peace in their communities and to move away from all the terrible and horrific things that were happening uh, around the areas that they lived in. So we can be really today proud that we're able to unite and stand together to celebrate the men who brought such great change into the world. So what I wanted to also share is to say thank you to everybody, the people that are working on the ground. And this is what I've found in my whole life of working, is that my greatest respect went to people that were on the ground, that took something, a project, and said, I can make this work because this is going to have an impact on my community. And this is going to have an impact that's long lasting on communities. And I know that all the speakers are here today. You are those people. I've followed you over the years, and your work is just simply phenomenal. It's remarkable. I have utmost respect for what you've done all on your own, and the success you achieved because it's something that was in your heart and something that was in your mind. I also want to welcome Janet. Thank you so much for your support for the event. Joseph Akinoli, thank you. So I don't want to talk too long because everybody's under pressure. So I'm going to ask Janet to take over now, and then Janet will continue with the program. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Dr. Nikki, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to welcome our wonderful speakers. So we all know that on the 21st of September, we started the first dialogue because that was the International Peace Day, a day which we all celebrate as peace builders who believe in the ideals of peace to make this world a better place. So today is the fourth dialogue. Our dialogue series has taken over some of the most important issues that we normally speak about peace building. So we have discussed children's perspectives, we have discussed why we need to have dialogue, we have discussed about women's role, and today our main focus is on the role of young people, because young people are very much important in peace building processes, and in peace building processes young people have done exceptionally well over the last few years. So if I give you a small background to this context, why we are having this dialogue, in 2015, the United Nations, which is one of the largest intergovernmental organizations in the world, they brought out a special resolution. And this came from the United Nations Security Council, which is one of the major bodies who debate and discuss about most of the sensitive and most important issues. So they brought a resolution in 2015. We call it Resolution 2250, or the Youth Peace and Security Resolution. So before this resolution, young people were mainly looked upon as the perpetrators of violence and war. But after this resolution, the United Nations member states, countries were encouraged to look at young people as peace builders. So young people as imperative for building peace and looking at creative approaches to building peace. So that is why we are having this dialogue today to ensure that young people can be at the forefront of the youth peace and security agenda, to take the contribution of young people and to make this world a better place. So how is Mr. Fred Bohasu. He's joining us from South Africa. We have Eugene Skeef from the United Kingdom. We have also Nichisan Tako from Cameroon. We have Lamina Kamaluddin Oretiosi from Nigeria. And we also have Mahiz Ahmed, who is a Sri Lankan from the United Arab Emirates. So we have speakers from different parts of the world, and they are ready to add their input into this important dialogue, which we will be also sharing with the United Nations, and how our ideas can make a better place, a better world. So first of all, I would like to invite Fred Bohasu, who is very much to share his knowledge, to give you a little bit of introduction about Fred. He is one of our speakers who is working with a lot of young people. So since 2005, he has worked with young people through his non-profit organizations and profit-based organizations, his businesses, and his other social charity movements. He's working with young people across Africa. He's an inspirational speaker, a published author, social entrepreneur, and a big brother to many of the young people living across Africa. He has been recognized as one of the most influential young people in South Africa, and today he is ready to speak about the projects that he is running with young people, with teenagers, and how the empowerment of young people can make a difference to the world. So, Fred, I would now like to invite you to speak about what you think to this esteemed gathering.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be part of this initiative. Probably as you can check behind my back here, I've got a very interesting background here. What's happening is that I'm on a 3 days mentorship program where in South Africa, we have taken 60 teenagers from all over the country, our country, on a 3 days. These are young boys on a 3 days program where we literally mentor them. We are preparing them to become great citizens of the world. We are preparing them in order for them to become great leaders, to become the Mahatma Gandhi, the Nelson Mandela, the Mother Teresa of this world. What we are doing. As I speak to you, we just got here today and we've been busy with them throughout the day, tomorrow, and on Monday as well, and we're very excited about that. So now, one of the things that I've realized that in order for us to help take our world to become a non-violent or have a non-violent alternative, especially amongst young people, is that we need to start at two places. Number one is that we need to start within the home, because we are growing within a very broken society. I mean, this goes throughout the world, the whole world, not only in my country and not only in Africa as a whole. We also need to go to schools and preach, not only preach, but then also showcase the peace. Because I remember in the 90s, while I was still in primary, we will always be not only singing about peace, but then they will always be preaching about peace. We will always see peace all over. But now that thing, it looks like it stopped along the way. So we need to take back what we used to do. As in my country would say that it takes a village to raise a child. For almost 2 decades, I've been working with young people, not only young people, but then also inmates across our country and also other parts of our continent. One of the things that I have found is that more than 60%, probably 60 to 65% of young people, especially the people of our color Africans, young boys, not only young boys, but the young people, but then now particularly, I just want to focus a lot on young people, especially when we talk about violence. Most of the perpetrators is us men. We have found that 60 to 65% of these young people, especially young boys, they grow up without a father figure or without a father in their. For example, right now, as I speak to you, I've got 60 teenage boys from all over our country, and actually one is from our neighboring country, Zimbabwe. Amongst the list, when the parents were filling up a form, one of the questions was, what is it? I mean, one of the questions was, is the boy staying with both parents or a father or a mother? I can rest assure you those forms, close to 80% of the forms, the people that were filling them up, it was women, it was mothers saying that the boy is staying only with the mother. Then one of the questions as we are engaging with these boys, I remember one of the camps that we had a couple of months back and last year was, please stand up if you've never met your father. Then almost half of those boys, you will find that they will stand up. Then I realized that violence starts right there because of young people, especially young boys, they grow up without father figure. So that's why I said that we need to start also at home. We need to have programs on how can, even if a mother is raising a boy child alone, as men, or not only men, but then as a society, we need to help that mother, as it says that it takes a village to raise a child. I've run also a couple of programs in prisons with inmates. Then one of the things that I found as we are running these rehabilitation programs for inmates, we found that 70 plus of the inmates that we have worked with over a couple of years, there was no father figure. Then now they are, one of the alternative was because of there was nobody who can instill discipline because of how we were created, especially as men. Man initially was created, now I'm talking about men as a male species, to be a type of a disciplinarian, not saying that women are not disciplinarian, but then we know that a man will bring that toughness that will say that you don't do that. But now I found that in most cases, these prisoners, inmates, there was no father figure. The father was not, that they were absent. So now that was one of the challenges where now, because of no father figure, then they ended up doing or being in the wrong side of the law. As they say that it's cheaper to fix, it's cheaper to empower young people in order to become great citizens of the world who will promote peace and non-violence. But it's more expensive to fix a broken man. So it means that we should not wait up until it's late. So that's why our programs are like this one that we do. We're focusing as far as when they are still 12, 13, so that when they reach 18, already they have been preached in their mind, peace, 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 and non-violent. Mr. Chairperson, you can remember in the early 90s, throughout the whole world, there were a whole lot of awesome organizations mushrooming all over the world that were promoting empower a girl child, take a girl child to school, nothing wrong with it. They've done great work. But now as they were doing that, they left a boy child behind. You see? So now we need to fast track and now take along a boy child and say, let us promote, because if we don't, in most cases, majority of them, they will find an alternative to what we should have done at the end before. What they will do, they will end up being doing violence. So now we need to promote. I believe that we also need to take to task people like your superstars, right? Artists, people that write songs. In the late 70s and the early 80s, even as far as the 90s, there were songs that were bringing us as a nation, not only the nation, but the whole world. They were bringing us together to become one. They were promoting peace. But now you look at all these superstars, most of them, what they sing about, it's all these negative things. They promote all the negative energy that they're doing. But then we need to really take them to account, that they also need to come on board, and let's encourage them. Because young people are actually listening. In most cases, young people, they listen to this. And I won't mention the names, but then there were in the late 1930s some world famous leaders who used music in order to destroy the world, because music is a very powerful thing. So that's one of the things that we need to do as a society, and say, let us boycott any music that is promoting violence. Let us promote any music that is not promoting, that is actually destroying our society. That is one of the things that we should actually start with, because of these young people, most of the times they are here on their phones, right? They're always listening to this music. They're always looking up to these so-called celebrities. So they also need to be taken to task. So I believe that that's where we need to start. We need to help women who are single household, who are raising especially young boys alone. We need to come on board, come up with programs. The same way that a whole lot of organizations were empowering a girl child, let us also empower a boy child as well. Because I believe that most of crime, most of the violence, it actually comes from a male species. So I believe that we need to start there. Let us empower young people. And not only that, but then we should not just speak, but then we should also show. That's one thing, do something different. So we also need to be promoters of non-violence, and we need to speak with one voice, and our voice must be heard. So that's just a few things that I thought that I should share with us, and because it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing that we're living in such a very violent society where young people, they think that it is very cool to promote violence. Because this is one of the things actually that today we were speaking about, because it starts very small. It starts as bullying, then it grows up until now it becomes a real violence. So we really need to come on board. But then I'm really impressed with this platform that we actually promoting nonviolence, and we're coming up with a lot of action plans where we would say that not in our name, but then we need to stand together and say that we need to promote peace, just like the whole world in the early 90s was promoting peace. So we need to bring that. It needs to be a fashion, but then it always starts at home. It always starts at home. Then we need to find ways where organizations such as this go to schools. We need to find ways where we also we take UNESCO as well to task and say that you need to sponsor us, support us, come on board with us. Can we have access to schools as well? Because we are not promoting any religion. All we're saying is that we want to promote peace, because of once there is peace, then obviously a whole of these wars that we see, obviously, they will go down. So we also need to take our politicians as well to task. But then at the end of the day, I would say that let us empower a boy child. Because once we empower a boy child, then we avoid fixing a broken man in the future. I'm not sure if I do still have time, because I heard that I need to keep within time. And I see that my network, my battery swell, it's about to die now.
Thank you, Fred. So thank you so much for being there for us. I know that you are a BBC person, and today also you are in a camp, making sure that you contribute to the society. And thank you for making sure there is some time for us, because this is an important dialogue that we are having, and we have a lot of esteemed guests who are ready to take the message that you just said to their societies, to their organizations. So thank you so much, Fred Bahazu, for your very important speech. I think some of the most important things that you shared, that we need to take peace to the family, to the schools, and then make sure that every, child, especially boy children, should be empowered to make sure that their contribution to peace and thinking about alternatives to conflict. And even you spoke about the importance of music when it comes to building peace and how you can use music as an instrument of peace building. So thank you so much, Fred. So let me move on to another speaker. So along with us today we have Mr. Lamina Kamaluddin, who is one of our good friends and peace leaders in the world. So if I introduce Lamina, he's the executive chairman of the World Institute for Peace in Nigeria, and he's an international ambassador working with Global Peace Let's Talk United Kingdom, and he's a renowned world peace advocate and international human rights activist. He's an humanity enhancer, children and youth developer, a poet, a writer, and he has been contributing to a lot of efforts internationally, making an impact not just in Africa, but in many countries, many continents in the world. So we are honored to have Mr. Lamina Kamaluddin with us today. So I would like to invite Mr. Lamina to speak about how young people can make a difference in the world. Over to you, Lamina.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so much glad to be here today. It is my honor to be part of this event. Meanwhile, as the topic for the speech is alternative to conflict. If I'm talking on a mentioning of the way to be making use of young generations, their roles in peace building. But before that, let me first talk about alternative to conflicts, as the topic connotes. Yes, conflict is an inherent part of human interaction, often arising from different opinions, from different interests and values. And why conflicts can lead to negative outcomes, such as hostility, aggression, and resentment, it is essential to also explore alternative approaches that can foster resolution and promote harmony. Yes. Here today, I will be talking of, I'll be making an analysis of alternative methods to conflict resolution, highlighting their effectiveness and potential benefits. So by examining various strategies, we can better understand how conflict can be managed effectively, leading to improved relationships and yes. Now we have conflict resolutions. One, there is communication and active listening. Communication and active listening. And two, we have mediation and negotiation. Yes. And three, we have collaborative problem solving. Four, we have emotional intelligence and empathy. So while talking of emotional and intelligence empathy, these play a crucial role in resolving conflict effectively by understanding and managing emotion and recognizing emotions for that. As well, while talking of communication and active listening, one of the most effective alternatives to conflict is open and honest communication. This will promote dialogue and active listening. And again, talking of mediation and alternative to conflict. So this also is an alternative method that involves the intervention of a neutral third party to facilitate conflict resolution. Like, for instance, mediators will help guide parties towards a mutually acceptable solution by encouraging dialogue, identifying common interests, and exploring potential compromises.
Sir, no voice. Please unmute. Sir, no voice. Please unmute.
Laminda, I think you have got yourself muted. Can you unmute yourself? Your speaker is not working. All right. I think you, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now it's okay.
Okay. Now, I said good evening to everyone from Nigeria. My name is Lamina Kamiluddin Omotoyosi, the Executive Chairman of World Institute for Peace. And also, I am one of the executive members of the Global Peace Lecture, London. I want to say thank you to the organizers of this event, especially the founder of the GPLT London, in person of Dr. Nikki Dipina. He is also part of us at World Institute for Peace. And it's my pleasure to also meet my brother, my partner, my friend, and our ambassador in person of Janet Pereira. He's also an energetic peace ambassador in the world, who happen to be one of the promoting partner and also a very active member of the Institute. Thank you so much. Now, I said I want to talk about the conflict, alternative to conflict, as the topic connotes. Yes, you see, conflict is an inherent part of human interaction, often arising from varying opinions, interests, and values. So while conflict can lead to negative outcomes such as hostility, aggression, and resentment, it's essential to explore alternative approaches that can foster resolution and promote harmony. I will analyze alternative methods to conflict resolution by highlighting their effectiveness and potential benefits. By examining various strategies, we can better understand how conflict can be managed constructively, leading to improved relationships. Now, let me talk of the conflict resolution. One, we have communication and active listening. One of the most effective alternatives to conflict is open and honest communication. By promoting dialogue by promoting dialogue and active listening, you understand the perspective and the common ground. So this approach encourages cooperation. And also, we have mediation and negotiation. So mediation and negotiation are alternative methods that involve the intervention of a neutral third party to facilitate conflict resolution. So this is whereby mediators help guide the parties towards a mutually acceptable solution by encouraging dialogue, identifying common interests, and exploring potential compromises. This approach empowers individuals to take an active role in resolving their conflicts while maintaining control over the outcome. Mediation and negotiation provide a structured and objective framework, reducing the likelihood of further escalation and preserving relationship. Then number 3, collaborative problem solving. Collaborative problem solving. This focuses on finding win-win solutions through cooperation and shared decision making. This approach encourages individuals to work together towards a common goal, emphasizes collective problem solving rather than individual gain. Then we also have emotional intelligence and empathy, which is 4. Emotional intelligence and empathy play a crucial role in resolving conflict effectively. By understanding and managing one's emotions and recognizing the emotions of others, individuals can develop empathy and compassion. Yes, this enables them to approach conflict with sensitivity and understanding. Yes, seek a solution that consider the needs and feelings of all parties involved. So emotional intelligence helps individuals control impulsive reactions, manage stress, and maintain a calm and rational demeanor during conflict situations, facilitating constructive dialogue and problem solving. Then I will need to talk of the benefits of alternative conflict resolution. God given to me is alternative conflict. So the utilization of alternative conflict resolution method offers several benefits. Firstly, it promotes understanding and empathy, fostering stronger relationship and reducing the likelihood of future conflict. Thus, alternative methods focus on finding mutually beneficial solutions, leading outcomes that satisfy all parties involved. So this approach contributes to long-term stability and cooperation. This is why we need it. Additionally, alternative conflict resolution methods empower individuals to take responsibility for their conflicts, promoting personal and self-awareness. I will go to the conclusion, but I go to the conclusion. I also want to say thank you for everybody who attended this event from various parts of the world. Yes, I may not know the names of all the participants and other panelists, but may I use this medium also to say thank you to Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, who gave the keynote speech before we came in. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, my regards to you from Nigeria. So in conclusion, conflict is an inevitable part of human interaction. We have to note this. I say conflict is an inevitable part of human interaction, but it does not have to result in negative consequences. I think you get me. Conflict is an inevitable part of human interaction, but it does not have to result in negative consequences. So by considering alternative approaches to conflict resolution, such as effective communication, mediation, collaborative problem solving, and emotional intelligence, individuals can foster understanding, empathy, and cooperation. So these methods are mentioned. They provide frameworks for resolving conflicts, leading to mutually beneficial outcomes, as I said earlier, by preserving relationships. So by these alternative conflict resolution strategies, as I stated, we can create a more harmonious and peaceful society. I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in this conference in commemoration of the International Day of Peace 2023, as organized by Global Peace-Led Talk, London. I say thank you to you all. God bless you. I remain Lamina Kamiluddin Omotoyosi, the Executive Chairman of World Institute for Peace and a bona fide member of Global Peace-Led Talk. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lena, for your great speech. You emphasized the importance of conflict resolution skills, collaboration, emotional intelligence, which is something that we are all discussing these days. Because if we want to make this world a better place, we need to equip the young generation with all these skills so that they can be empowered to make peace possible. Because currently the world is in a very disturbing state, just like our speaker Mr. Fritz told us. So if we can equip the younger generation with the skills and knowledge, they can be at the forefront of making peace possible. So next, I would like to invite another great speaker. With us, we have Natsam Thakur. He's an innovative, experienced, and achievement-oriented clinical psychologist who will have a perspective about mental health, psychosocial support, and he has been working with several international and community-based organizations. He's a motivational speaker. He's a very good speaker when it comes to mental health, peace building, spiritual goals, and also supporting people who are having traumatic and vulnerable experiences. He has extensive peace and field experience working for certain organizations who are supporting humanitarian crises around the northwest region of Canada. He has founded a community and mental health organization, and he's currently a PhD fellow in clinical counseling. So I would like to invite our dear speaker, Sam, to address this gathering.
Greetings to everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of this global discourse on peace organized by Global Peace Let's Talk. And I'm excited, not only talking like a speaker, but a director in the chapter of health and wellness. So I'm an in-house person and glad to impact our community and our world in the area of peace. Looking at a youth town hall alternatives of conflict, I try topic closely to come out with what I want to share today to the entire world to see the place of the youths in conflicts and how they can look for alternatives to come out of situations that can rather aggravate conflicts. So looking at this word alternatives of conflict, I look at it from this perspective, which it refers to the method of resolving disputes that do not involve litigation. By this, what do I mean? It doesn't involve, it doesn't need to go to the lawsuit. It doesn't need to have a hearing in the court, or neither should you be tried, or it should be a court case or a legal action that should be taken when it comes to alternative conflicts. And looking at some examples of alternative conflict resolutions methods, I came into mediation. In mediation, I'm looking at negotiation as well as negation. And we have reconciliation and arbitration. And what does this arbitration mean in our context? Either settlement of disputes, intercession, and many others. So alternatively, an alternative to conflict can refer to a world structured around international cooperation, presided over by the government, chosen by the people of all the nations. And so conflict in this aspect of the youth, the way I look at it globally, is any disagreement between two or more people or groups of people or youths that may lead to an escalation. That's conflict. So whenever two or more people have different interests, values, goals, and understanding, conflict arises. So it may be in a person, within people. It could equally be within groups or within organizations. So in other words, conflict refers to all kinds of opposition or antagonism interaction between or among individuals and groups. It exists whenever one party perceives that another party has hampered or is about to hamper and the accomplishment or goals of the other person. So conflicts generally are a part of life. We cannot run away from conflict as individuals, and to more specifically youths, they can never be able to run away from conflict. Whether it's in a business relationship, whether it's in a football match, whether it is in a crisis situation, whether it's in the hospital, or whether it's in a marital relationship, whether it is in any environment, it is inevitable that none of us can be able to escape conflict. We live at a time where conflict must occur. The issue is not the conflict in question, but how we handle the situation that arises to conflict that becomes an issue, either as youths or adults. So conflict can also lead to hostility. That is when it is not managed well. It can lead to discord, and oftentimes it can lead to complete dissolution. That is in a way that to handle becomes a difficult thing. But it is, but there is a need for us as peace builders. There is a need for us as youth leaders to be able to look at what are some of the ways in which we can handle conflicts. What are the alternative ways in which we can handle conflicts? So trying to look at those alternative things, we mentioned earlier on aspect of negotiation, facilitation, and the communication. I will not talk about communication or negotiation or communication because the former speaker just mentioned that. So I will just look at the alternatives that we can use as coaches, we can use as team builders, we can use as nation builders, and we can equally use as leaders that desire development can take place. You know, in the midst of conflict, there can never be any development. There can never be any justice. There can never be any economic growth. And so how can we at our local levels, from homes to a community, be able to handle the issues of conflict as an alternative? Looking at where I am coming from, one of the alternatives I was able to get through a survey is early childhood mindset transformation. Early childhood mindset transformation. What do I mean by this within our context? Youth and children are often neglected or pushed aside in an advent of resolving conflicts or basic problems that occur within the homes or in schools, in our family setups, in our community groups, in Jangi groups. That's a thrift and loan meeting. That's what I mean by a Jangi group. And church groups, most often when conflicts are being resolved, youth are neglected and pushed aside. So most often they consider themselves as not being important in resolving conflicts. Often they think that important and their opinions are baseless. So they grow up with this mindset as being useless and non-productive in handling even themselves when they find themselves in conflict. And the result of this is leading to the youths who are being neglected. They are being put that their values are not important when it comes to resolving conflict. Most often in situations where they are not heard, they become bitter. They neglect even themselves and the situations that push them into conflict, and they burst into anger. They find themselves in an atmosphere of antagonism. And because of this, some of them get bitter to the point where some have dropped out of school because their conflict cannot be resolved. Some have gone out of their homes because they feel that they are not loved. Most of the groupings where they find themselves, they dissociate themselves and isolate themselves from those groups. And when they do that, they therefore get into the streets and meet people living wild lives and people of the street. And those in the streets, they live in the wild. They are a nuisance to the community. They kill, they destroy, they steal, and many other things happen. And so when they are neglected, they join these groups and become violent. And at this level, it becomes even more difficult for parents. It becomes more difficult for leaders, community group leaders, to be able to handle some of these children because they have considered themselves useless. They don't have any say in whatever thing is being done as far as conflict is concerned, either concerning them or concerning a group of people where they belong. So the result is that they live in that stigma of their inability to do anything including participating in resolving squabbles that have occurred within groups or individuals or families. And it doesn't end there. The stigma equally makes them useless and non-productive. At this stage, they are out of control. And instead of the stakes concern taking them for mental care or for a mind reset, they rather or use oppression on them in order to quell them down. And this escalates into violence, which at the end of the day, the nation, the communities, and even the families suffer as a result of this. So repression, as a result of not taking, simple measures to resolve conflict, now builds up to an atmosphere of chaos. And an atmosphere of chaos leads to an increase in crime wave. An increase in crime wave leads to vandalism. And vandalism, because they are not treated well, they are not considered, they are not listened to, they tend to develop a heart of unforgiveness. And because of this heart of unforgiveness, they tend to venge on anyone that crosses their way, leading to violence, which is a situation which, if they were listened to, the ideas given a thought of and considered to be important, they wouldn't have been able to get to this level. So an alternative for conflict is giving a listening ear and giving a place for the youth to know that and to practice how to resolve conflict, that their opinions count. So we give them the opportunity and their opinions to count in resolving conflicts. We involve them at the very early stage of their lives as far as conflict resolution is concerned. When that is not done, repression only builds an atmosphere of chaos. Crime wave increases, and we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. So children should be involved and given value in skills in handling conflicts at an early stage of their lives. And this will go a long way to serve as an alternative of conflict, which will rather build self-esteem in the children to be involved in their conflicts. Lastly, mental health awareness is an alternative for resolving conflict, even amongst youths. We now know that when children perhaps have grown up in environments where they are not accepted, automatically in their mental state, they are rejected. And because they are rejected, they see themselves having no value in the society. So because they have no value in the society, they perpetrate hate. And it doesn't only end on hate, but they become violent. And this violence equally goes a very long way to destroy the very essence of why we are existing as human beings. And so they become a subject of torture and punitive, penalizes all those that they think that they have to penalize, they violate anyone that they think that they have to violate. So if the mental health care of the youth is being given consent, is being given attention, I think that they will develop, they will see actors that are found in the community. Everyone can feel important and accepted, even if their point doesn't count. You know, when you just accept that, yeah, you have a good point, but let's see an alternative. And they feel important because their values have been accepted. That goes a long way as an alternative, which we can be able to overcome conflicts. And education on the importance of cohesion amidst any form of conflict is an alternative through which we can be able to overcome conflicts and violence in our community. And the interest of the masses, if it is not neglected, this will go a long way to solve the problems of conflicts that we have in our society today. Most often before violence occurs because people have been neglected. So if their interest is taken into cognizance and the politicians give their place in the society, in the building of the society, violence will definitely reduce. And lastly, acknowledging the weaknesses and strengths of one another. This includes the government, This includes civil society organizations. This includes NGOs, and this includes the culprits that are involved in any conflict. You study their strengths and their weaknesses. Then you get a compromising position where both of them can come to a compromise and their strengths are acknowledged and their weaknesses are being given a facelift through mental health. This will go a long way to build a society with reduced conflict and a better place where you and I can live in even when there is conflict. Nobody can run away from conflict, but we can reduce the effects if we look for alternatives. And let me just say this last thing. The institutions that are found within local communities, they should look for a possibility where they can look for ways in which they can resolve their conflict without necessarily going to the police, without going to the military, that sometimes equally aggravate the problems themselves because they want to extort money from people. So local solutions and empowerment of the leaders, local leaders, headquarters, community leaders, making them feel important that they have a place to play in conflict resolution in our communities will help to reduce violence and will live in a world that is better even when there is conflict. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sam, for your wise words. You have given us some very important messages, and you have given us your time. Thank you so much. So something that I found really interesting is the importance that we need to give to the emotional well-being of young people, because if you look at most conflicts in the world, I think most of you will agree that youth unrest has been pivotal in revolutions, in making some of the initial start points of conflicts, the initial triggering points of conflict. So young people's mental health should be taken care of, and we need to support young people to ensure that they can express their feelings not in a conflict triggering manner, but in a peaceful manner, and to also ensure that young people's voices are heard, so that their problems can be solved, so that we can make sure that there's a better world for every single individual in the society. Yes. So with those thoughts, I would like to move on to our next esteemed speaker. We have Mr. Eugene Skeef from South Africa. He's in the United Kingdom, but he's coming from South Africa. He's a South African percussionist, composer, poet, educationist, and workshop leader, and has lived in London since 1980s. He has also worked in fields of conflict resolution and acts as a consultant on cultural development, teaching creative leadership, and is also a broadcaster. In 2003, he founded Moyo Creations, a charity set up to facilitate this international work, and as a young activist, he worked alongside the anti-apartheid leader Steve Biko and co-led a national-wide literacy campaign, training or teaching in schools, colleges, and communities across South Africa. He has also been instrumental in developing educational programs in some of the major classical orchestras in the United Kingdom. He is a proud fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and has served in several advisory committees on music and creative arts. So I would like to invite Mr. Eugene Skeef to share his perspectives, especially how young people can be a solution to the world problems, and anything that he would like to share on this esteemed occasion.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, my brother. Thanks for your empathetic moderation. I would also like, before I say anything else, to start by extending my humble gratitude to Nikki for having the graciousness to invite me to participate in this very meaningful discourse. I would also like to thank the three previous speakers for their very engaging insights, exceedingly inspiring. And then thanks to all of us for sharing this virtual space and making it feel so warm as if we're in each other's kitchens. Thank you. Okay, I wrote something that was inspired by the theme of our gathering. I title it Roots to Peace Through Equitable Cultural Exchange. Let us learn each other's dance steps is the subtitle. Yesterday, as a new professor of practice, I was invited to attend a University of Johannesburg staff day, where the staff members of all the faculties came together on a massive sports field to join in celebrating South Africa's diverse cultural heritage. I was struck by the beauty of the music, traditional costumes, and dances from all corners of the country, but also representing nations from further afield, including Ethiopia, India, China, Tanzania, Pakistan, and several others. In a world where the differences between us have become the cause of escalated conflicts across the globe, it was deeply heartening and inspiring for me to witness the joy and open gestures of cross-cultural celebration right across the field, both literally and metaphorically speaking. The beauty of the colors was reflected by the glorious sunshine that bathed everyone in the blessing of our shared heritage of equality through diversity. As the various groups of performers took to the stage to entertain us, I marveled at the generosity of each cultural group that made up the audience towards whoever was on stage at the time. Every single person in the huge crowd danced, sang, and mimicked whichever performer's turn it was to be on the stage. My heart melted as I joined everyone else in emulating the melodies, hand-clapping beats, and nifty footwork. As the day progressed, each group got a chance to inspire the rest to learn their moves on the spot. What stood out most vividly for me was the generational mix on the field. Young and old blended in an unstoppable, vibrant river of color. I remember sitting next to an 11-year-old boy from Soweto who had earlier fascinated us with his crisp snare drum playing as part of a brass band that spread a carnival atmosphere across the sports ground. He exuded a relaxed confidence that was a testament to his upbringing in a family that is built on the core values of peace and love. He told me that he was encouraged by his mother to start playing music at age 5. Music is at the heart of his family. His mother's piano. Pardon me, I just heard some interference, another sound. Am I clear?
Yes, you are clear. There is some disturbance. I have muted the sound.
Music is at the heart of his family. His mother's piano playing being the pivotal inspiration. I remembered my own upbringing in a township steeped in the deathly combination of apartheid state violence and the rampant gangsterism that terrorized families. I witnessed my own home becoming a refuge for the most vulnerable members of our community. This came about because my father was the strongest man in the township, and my mother, a healer through African herbal medicine and spiritual divination, as well as a Western-type health visitor. Victims of violence and abuse of all kinds came to my home for healing and sustenance. There was food around the clock and a safe home for anyone who entered our yard. There was music, there was poetry, there was dancing, there was art, there was conversation. All of this amounted to an alternative education and empowerment of the most disadvantaged and disaffected in our society. As I grew up, I came to realize that as a young person, I was drawn to the magnet of the complementary aspects of what was naturally different between individual people or cultural traditions. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how that happened. Pardon me, I don't know how that happened. Could someone guide me as to where the last part, where was I last heard?
We've been hearing you. You were speaking about the music and in your
Okay.
household. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, there was conversation. All of this amounted to an alternative education and empowerment of the most disadvantaged and disaffected in our society. As I grew up, I came to realize that as a young person, I was drawn to the magnet of the complementary aspects of what was naturally different between individual people or cultural traditions. I was attracted to how these differences were possibly by transcendent design so that we could enjoy exploring how they can be brought together to dovetail into new mutually beneficial combinations. I saw this as a route to peace. This feeling was so strong in my consciousness that as a young poet, I adopted the pseudonym Peacemaker. Over the decades, I have used my creative skills of poetry and music as a means towards conflict resolution. In this time, I have learned that the seed of sustained peace resides in all of us. Each of us has to be prepared to let go of our prejudices and embrace the potential within our differences to immeasurably expand our humanity. So here's an image that comes to mind. When we relax our clenched fists of protest and anger and extend our fingers to reveal our open palms, we can then interlace our fingers with those of the person across from us before clenching them again into a newly expanded shared symbol of unity. I cannot think of anything more empowering and humanizing than this act. But this is easier said than done. So a few days ago, I had the honor of being invited to give 2 lectures to students, teachers of childhood education at the Soweto campus of the University of Johannesburg. When I arrived at the campus, the lecturers whose students I would be addressing warned me that they, the students, were feeling stressed and unmotivated because of a number of social, political, and academic issues that were having a negative impact on their capacity to perform their student duties at the expected level. As I entered the lecture hall, I could see what they meant. The rows of desks were occupied by seemingly disinterested and distracted young people, several of whom were slouched over their bags or closed books. Many of them were preoccupied with their smartphones, earphones, or headphones attached. With the initial formalities over, I stepped forward and greeted the students. Within seconds of opening my mouth, the room erupted into expressions of joy that lasted the entire session, which ran over significantly, leading to a handful of other students who needed the hall for their lesson creeping in to soak up the energy. My sessions used poetry, song, and movement to explore cultural heritage and navigate the social injustices of a country whose claims to democracy constitute a toxic fable doled out through constant power outages, water shortages, gender-based violence, a non-existent healthcare system, and a whole range of other inequities. The young students' eyes lit up with every step of our joint learning about the importance of knowledge based on the foundation of knowing ourselves first as a pathway into knowledge of the other and the rest of the world. They used their smartphones to do instant online research into my story as a youth activist alongside Steve Biko and the Black Consciousness Movement, or to find more information on the historic characters in my poems who were involved in peace building or the struggle for freedom of their people in different countries across the globe over different periods. They were inspired to learn that creativity is a form of leadership because it comes from the same place where love is rooted, and that knowledge is meaningless unless and until acted on. They embraced the notion of finding it within themselves as young people to ignite their dormant knowledge into the embodiment of love in action. For this is the power of harmony, of peace, when we know that we are more truly ourselves when we extend into the lives of others with whom we share our beneficent world. I left Soweto feeling confident that the generation of youth whose love I had just been blessed with bore the flame that will light the new dawn that beckons. With your permission, I would like to end my little section by playing for you a little video clip that is less than 5 minutes long. And I will lead into it by explaining that it is a poem that I wrote titled Anon. And it's a poem that is a tribute to a whole range of people who gave their lives so that we may be free. And all of them were peace builders and in some way or other, freedom fighters, but of peace. The poem is called Anon. And I must mention that whilst I wrote the poem, I engaged the skills of one of my mentees, a young creative pianist who's a classical and jazz pianist called Chester Summerton, who I mentor from 6,000 miles away in London. And then when I come to South Africa, I continue the mentorship. And he's one of the most gifted pianists who is looked highly up to right now. And he's on everybody's lips at the moment as a genius of the piano. He's called Chester Summerton, and I invited him to write the piano music that is blended with my poem Anon. And with your permission, I'd like to share that.
Let me share the video.
Yes, I'm just going to, I just need to find it now. Just give me a second. I just need to find the exact video, please.
I think
not the one on YouTube, because
okay.
Yeah, it has problems. I've got a clear one that's on my laptop.
All right. Okay.
Just 1 second. Let me just go for it.
No worries.
Okay, I'm coming to it. There it is.
Anon. They will turn the wheel of the revolutionary sun
The video is not on.
These daughters and sons.
Eugene,
Hello?
They will burn.
the video is not on.
Yeah, we can hear the voice, but not see the video.
Okay, I thought I clicked. I'm very sorry. Let me just start again. Can I stop share and then start share again?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Oh, accidentally, yeah, that came off. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, man.
Yes, it's all good now.
Thank you.
Anon. They will turn the wheel of the revolutionary sun all through infinity, these daughters and sons. They will burn the torch that emboldens the moon, these beacons of liberty who left too soon. Progeny of a people's quest for freedom's peace. Symphony of their souls rest in eternal peace. Let us recall those whose holy name echoes in the roll call of heaven's hall of fame. Let us speak of the law of Steve Biko and more. The untimely silence of their defiance against our violation is their sublimation. Look into their sleeping eyes, immune to death's disguise. Their truth will always vaporize the honeyed tongue of insidious lies. Listen closely to their angels' cries. Let us remember them. Remember Lumumba. The rumor of Nkrumah quivers still like a silent breath of the poisoned whisper of his death. And where is Césaire, that poetic interlude to our bleached solitude, his prophetic portrayal of self-love's betrayal? Where Rodney, Harper, C. Cole, enshrined the seat of Parks with the indelible marks of her resistance to discrimination against fine ground pigmentation? Keep your distance. Moyano, Marti, Mali, Gavi, permanently fixed to the crucifix of life's mystery. Their blood is mixed in the crucible of our history. We wonder about Nehanda, whose spirit returns to guide us against false prophets who divide us. Is she dancing to the mbira with the souls of Erendira, Lakshmi Bai, Jackson? We weep with the broken strings of the guitarra, to sleep in the soaring wings of the voice of Khara, harmonized with the liberating eyes of Guevara. Zumbi, your inverted head, a talking drum instead, pulsing in the dome of the calabash. Bring us hidden home for our hands to wash. Sands, a life beached on holy lands, where hopes are breached. Why? Why? Kimati, his repartee, with freedom's creatures, one of the great teachers of how the colonial master will fabricate his own disaster. Hendrix, X, a sky kissed by lives blessed, breath turned to mist, stolen from our midst. Let us sing with the king. Let us dream, let us scream. but heed the greed of they who feed on freedom's need. Let us give praise till the end of our days to Tubman, Truth, Azad, to Fanon, and on, and on, and on, and on. Soon to be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that sharing. You brought a lot of life into it. You brought a lot of perspective into it. So we are blessed to have you as one of our esteemed speakers.
Thank you very much.
So moving on, we have another speaker. He's currently in the United Arab Emirates, and he's originally from Sri Lanka. He's together with us in many initiatives in the future to come. So let me introduce Mr. Mahiz Ahmed, one of my good friends. And he's an enthusiastic youth leader who has embarked on a multitude of successful ventures. He's a youth empowerment advocate, bagging several multi-sectoral prowess and professional acumen, rendering a valuable service to the field of community development. Since 2016, as a youth leader, he has led many youth-led initiatives, and he has one of his own brainchild organizations, Citizens, a youth-led initiative, which I am also part of. So we are blessed to have Mahiz Ahmed with us today. He is the founder president of Citizens, a global youth-led movement, having participants and volunteers from different countries around the world. And he is one of the best people to speak about volunteerism and how young people can be involved in the peace-building processes. He has sent us a video because of some technical issues that he's encountering. So I will be now sharing that video message with all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and my fellow youth, I was asked to speak on the role of youth in peace building. This is indeed a topic of great significance and urgency. In a world marked by conflicts, division, and uncertainty, the role of youth in fostering peace has never been more critical. The youth of any society represents its future. We are torchbearers of progress, change, and hope. Yet, we often underestimate the power we have in shaping a peaceful world. We live in a time where youth empowerment and engagement in peace building efforts are not just desirable but imperative. Youth brings a unique perspective to peace building. We are not burdened by the package of history, damage, or entrenched conflicts. Our minds are open, and our hearts are full of compassion and idealism. This perspective can offer innovative solutions to age-old problems and bridge divides that may seem insurmountable to others. Moreover, the energy and passion that define you can be harnessed to drive positive change. We are the driving force behind movements for justice, equality, and human rights. We have witnessed the power of youth-led initiatives addressing global issues, from climate change activism to advocating for gender equality. The same principles can be applied to peace building. Education plays a crucial role in the peace building process, and youth have a significant role to play in this regard. By promoting peace education and conflict resolution in schools and communities, young people can foster a culture of dialogue and understanding. We must champion education and emphasize empathy, tolerance, and cooperation to counter the seeds of hatred and violence. Furthermore, technology has given youth unprecedented tools for communication and mobilization. We can use social media and digital platforms to connect across borders, share stories of resilience, and amplify the voices of those affected by conflict. By utilizing these tools responsibly, we can mobilize support for peace-building efforts worldwide. Volunteerism and community engagement are at the heart of youth-led peace building. Our commitment to take a difference can be channeled into projects that promote reconciliation, provide humanitarian aid, and support conflict-affected communities. From organizing peace marches to participating in dialogue sessions, we have the potential to be active agents of change. In conclusion, the role of youth in peace building is not merely symbolic. It is transformative and indispensable. We possess the potential to challenge the status quo, inspire others, and lead by example. By embracing our responsibility and seizing the opportunities presented to us, we can contribute to a more peaceful, just, and harmonious world. Let us remember that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, understanding, and empathy. As youth, we are not just the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders of today. And together, we can build where peace prevails. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh, for your wonderful ideas. As a young peace leader, he's one of the young peace leaders from Sri Lanka who is currently in the United Arab Emirates, who is in his early 20s, but has the passion to make a change. And as the founder president of Citizens, he has been able to make a lot of contributions to the youth peace building sector, organizing several international level conferences and panel discussions and dialogues. So that is why we wanted to invite him as a young peace builder to make sure that their voices are represented in esteemed gatherings like this. So thank you for all our speakers today. If there are any questions from the audience to any of our speakers or to have a common dialogue, I would like to invite all of you now to ask any questions you have so that we can have some discussion before we end the conversation today.
Yes. Hello. Good evening. If I may. Yes. No, firstly, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Nikki, protocol observed, and the moderator, Janith, My comments, this has been a very good session and very inspirational, so I will not waste time because it will be good to hear from the speakers. This is Juliet Miabo from South Africa. What I would like to point out, which I thought was very awesome, was my fellow South African, the first speaker. He pointed out the importance of involving youth and the boy child. And I wanted to highlight how significant that is, especially with the idea of starting them at an early age as possible. In the work that we do, we find that even the age of 5, young children have already internalized wrong values because of exposure to negative family setups, negative community setups. So our involvement with the youth needs to start at an early age, as early as 2 years old. As soon as they can hear, as soon as they can speak, we need to be able to influence their thinking and their mindsets. And he highlighted the importance of music, but media in totality can either break or make young people. And I believe that as Global Peace Network and other organizations worldwide, we need to have a say in terms of the content of what our children are exposed to, because there's no amount of teaching that we can do that will help, that can counteract what is happening in the media, because our children and our youth, they consume media. So let us take an action and influence and give content and write and comment. I mean, in my own household, I do not let my son watch 99% of television because of too much exposure to violence, exposure to sex, exposure to nudity, exposure to insults, that exposure. Even the news, the way news broadcast themselves, Mr. Eugene, as a person who's in media and as a broadcast person, even the news themselves are so full of violence that we need to start taking care of what young people and our children are exposed to. But quickly moving into, and thank you to the speaker that spoke about the mental health. That was quite critical, because we are seeing a huge number of young people taking their own lives or going into depression before the age of 30. And that has a lot to do with what they're exposed to and with how they have conflicts within themselves, because the world is exposing them to a multi-millionaire type of lifestyle, yet most of them cannot even afford to put food in their stomachs. So we need to look at how we help young people to deal with the internal conflict that they have based on overexposure. And that has a lot to do with establishing a fresh consciousness, which Mr. Eugene spoke about. And I really appreciate and welcome home, Mr. Eugene. I'm glad you are back in South Africa. And you were in Soweto, and that's my home. You can't be in Soweto without me. But in any case,
next time.
Yes, but in any case, you know what I loved is how you highlighted some of us coming from being born and bred in Soweto. In the midst of apartheid, we were feeling it, eating it, living it. But because of the teachings of Steve Biko, of Kwame Nkrumah, and later Bosobukwe and others, were able to find internal peace in spite of the external conflict. So the conscientiousness, the role that we have to play as Global Peace Network, it's not just about action in terms of going out and protesting, but it's about changing the mindset and influencing the hearts and the spirits of the young people, because the young people we have from the age of 2, I'm not talking about the age, because we've got 5-year-olds who already know about sex before they can even spell the word. So we have a bigger role of changing the mindset, minimizing negative exposure, and creating a better world so that children and young people are not in conflict with what is good and what is bad. And more than anything else, your poem, as I had said earlier on when we were hosting Professor Lumumba, is that it touches on the core of those issues and we must put into action. And thank you also for the young person who spoke, because the young people, as much as they are the leaders of today, they are the leaders of today. We need to also realize that they need guidance, but they need to be guided by adults like ourselves who understand what the world could be, because we need to let them lead, but at the same time, we need to protect them because the world has been messed up. But other than that, I think it's been a great session. And I really like to appreciate the young person from Sri Lanka and say, continue doing a great work. And I appreciate all the leaders that are here. But it's been a great session, but we have a lot of work to do, and together from different parts of the world. Dr. Nikki Dipina, the team of Global Peace Net, from Global Peace, let's talk. Let us make this happen, because the lives of our children today, tomorrow, and into the future is in our hands, and we have to work with them, but we have the responsibility to protect their present and their future as leaders. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this session.
Thank you, Ms. Juliet Miabo, for your valuable remarks. Any other participants would like to share their comments or ask any questions? Do we have any other participants who would like to comment or speak?
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Hina Robin, I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Today I am very happy the topic of regarding youth, how they roll in peace. It was nice experience, and I am really very thankful to our member, very Reverend Joel Bhatti, those who are providing me this opportunity. And I think youth is the base of our society, our nation, our region, and our culture. So, and same mothers are the center of the house, caretaker. So they both are playing the positive role when they are growing in education, in attitude, how they pick from their house, institute, school, college, and if they are doing proper follow-up. So I think peace will be on earth, and our youth is in the present condition as the youth have many lots of facilities, social media, nets, iPhone, all and everything, iTap, and they have lots of knowledge they got. If they are proper guidance and they are achieve their goal, and one day they will shine and achieve the goal, and one day they will shine on their whole world and nation and religion. Thank you so much. I have learned so much, and it's very informative and amazing today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hina Robin, for your comments. I think Mr. Eugene wants to add something.
Yes, thank you to that last comment very much. In fact, that's what inspired me to just say this very briefly. Just to say to the gathering that when you have been around for as long as someone like I myself has been around, and you've done things, over, several decades, many decades. Personally, I never lose hope. I'm a very, positive person in my nature, but I know that we live in a world where the older generation of people like myself and others older than myself can understandably get to a point where their hope disappears like a fire that is dying. And even, where they think that no matter how much you blow the cinders, the fire will not rekindle, will not reignite. But I'm one of those who lives in hope all the time. And so I'm very, very grateful to be part of this family that is so full of hope and inspiring towards young people and equipping young people. Like my sister just said now about Soweto and South Africa and her background, and how I started reading. When you talk about actually my sister, I started reading at 2 years old. My parents instilled exactly what you are talking about in me. So I'm holding the baton and I'm passing it on to the next generation. So I want to thank us all for giving us such a sense of hope in these dismal times, when everything else wants to suggest hopelessness. Yeah, Pambili, forward, ever, backward, never. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eugene Skeef. Any other person who would like to share their final comments? We are also running short of time because we have exceeded our time. So anybody who would like to bring out their final comments briefly?
Yes, Dr.
Yes, thank you so much to all the speakers. It has been well summarized by our sister, Ambassador Juliet. Thank you, Professor Eugene. Thank you. And to all the speakers who came before, we appreciate you. One of the things that I would like to ask our amazing and phenomenal fearless leader, Dr. Nikki Dipina, I would like to ask for some form of consolidation of efforts, especially for our young people. I know today we are sharing experiences, we are sharing knowledge, but we want to bring young people together in a conference where they will learn. And they will learn from the likes of Ntate Eugene. They will learn from the likes of Nchem. They will learn from the likes of Ahmed from who has just spoken, so that we can equip those who are not there yet. That is a humble request from us here at the NGO Whisperer to the leadership of Global Peace Let's Talk, and to, I will call her Mama Nikki Dipina, because she's a mother to all of us. Please, let's do something like this, but let it be educational so that youths will gather around rooms, even if a room can have 100 youth, and they can learn wherever they are, from Africa, from different African countries, from South America, from India, from Sri Lanka. Let's bring our youth, because right now we are here, we are speaking to each other. We already value it, but there is a young person there who doesn't know. Lastly, I know time is far much gone. Dr. Nikki, you know, there was a young girl who was stabbed to death this week in London by another young man, 17-year-old, stabbed to death. I think she's 16. She was sitting for her GCSE this year, equivalent of matric. She is someone who was going somewhere, someone who the mother invested a lot. And this young man is going to jail. This young man's life will change forever. He will no longer be in the presence of his family because he stabbed a young girl who was going to school. Our young people need to learn how to negotiate and to talk about issues and not to stab one another unto death. Can you imagine on her way to school when her mother said goodbye? She didn't know she will be called and be told, we have seen so-and-so, can you come and identify the body at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know? So this is a message that is relevant. It's not just for Africa where there is war. It's not just for Middle East where there is war. It's also in places like London where there was never war, but there is no peace. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Thank you so much for your very important comment. I think everywhere in the world we find a lot of disturbances to peace. And I think the right education, the right information can make a difference. And we need to empower the young generation. And honestly, I've learned a lot from being part of this discussion. As a young person, the valuable advice, the valuable suggestions, the valuable counsel that the elderly can provide to young people can change their world. So thank you so much for all our speakers. Thank you so much for all our participants. I think we had a very productive session. And thank you so much once again. It really means a lot to make a change happen. So as our participant shared, we need to think about how we can involve young people and take the message to those young people who are not currently involved because they don't know that this is existing. They are in a different world. So we need to bring them to the world where we speak about peace, not always hear acts of violence and aggression. We need to show them there's alternatives to conflict. That is exactly the place, the title that we thought of, a youth town hall, alternatives to conflict. So these alternatives do exist. And I think in the years to come, Global Peace Let's Talk and other supporting institutions will all align their agenda to make sure that young people are involved in the peace building process and they are well informed and educated on how they can be the next generation of world lovers of peace and change agents. So thank you everyone for your valuable contributions and time. So I would like to remember that on the 2nd of October, we have our very special song launch that is in commemoration of the International Day of Non-Violence. So we started our first dialogue on the International Day of Peace, and we are going to end our dialogue series and discussion commemorating some of the fatherly figures, motherly figures of peace on the 2nd of October. So I invite everyone to take part in that event as well, London 5 p.m. time frame. So thank you everyone. Have a nice day and a week ahead. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dina. Thank you.